Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to be reviewing the most awaited palette of the year, which for me is always the Mothership palette of the year. This right here is Mothership number 11. I have not opened it yet because I want to see it in person and react to it in front of you. So if you're excited for the review of this palette, don't forget to please give this video a thumbs up. I'm going to be doing swatches, I'm going to be doing an eye look with it, and I'll also be doing some comparisons with this one and the other pink color stories that Pat McGrath has given us in the past. I'm super excited to get into it, so let's just go ahead and get started. Before I even get to opening this palette, I want to briefly touch on some controversy that has surrounded this palette's launch. Obviously, there is a lot of moving parts behind what makes a makeup brand, especially a makeup brand that is as big as Pat McGrath. And so I want to say that I'm disappointed specifically at the team that manages Pat McGrath's social accounts, Instagram to be specific, and the way that they dealt with the feedback of this palette being another pink palette. I love romantic color stories. From what I've seen online, I expect to like this palette, but it is true that Pat has launched a lot of different pink eyeshadow palettes in the recent past. And so I feel like the way they managed that feedback from their customers was just a little wrong. They were deleting comments and they even blocked some people that were giving them this feedback, and that is disappointing, especially because if someone is complaining about another pink palette, it's because they've already purchased a lot of pink palettes from Pat McGrath in the past. So not only are you disappointing customers in general, but you're likely to be disappointing and blocking some of your most loyal customers, and that to me is honestly unacceptable. So if anyone from the Pat McGrath marketing team is watching, that is my feedback for you. And not just my feedback, but also the feedback of my followers, because all of this information, of course, I gathered from what people were telling me when the palette was first announced. With that said, you guys know I am always overly excited when it comes to Pat McGrath because I am a big fan of the Pat McGrath eyeshadow formula, of the Pat McGrath packaging, of the color stories that she creates. And so I'm going to put all of that aside to review this palette so that I can give you an objective impression of how I feel about it. And of course, in case you, like me, have a large Pat McGrath collection, at the end of this video we will be comparing shades and we will be comparing color stories, which I can't wait to get into. So let's go for it. Let's go ahead and open Mothership number 11, Sunlit Seduction. When this palette was first announced, I filmed a first impressions video on like the images that we saw online of it, and I was a bit disappointed at the color story, not because the color story is like ugly or anything, it's beautiful, but because the outside packaging of this palette, as you can see, has a ton of purple in it. And so I was expecting when I opened it to see some purple shades in there. And I mean, I haven't seen it in person yet, but there is only one, and it's not even that purpley from what I could see online. Anyways, let's open it. I'm excited and nervous all at the same time. Oh my goodness. This is a very beautiful, very romantic color story. This color story definitely has some roses, but with that said, I feel like there are some advantages to this particular rosy color story in comparison to some other rose color stories that she's done in the past. The purpley shade in this palette, I also gotta say, looks prettier in person than it did on the swatches I saw online. Let me just go ahead and show you. Take a look right here at what Mothership number 11 looks like. It is beautiful, it is rose, it is romantic, and let me see if I can show you different angles with the light, because this purpley color looks really pretty in person, but when I put it on the camera like this, it almost looks like a silver, but it does have really pretty purpley hues to it. So I'm hoping that maybe turning it, you can kind of see it better. As per usual, I'm always a little extra excited about a Mothership palette when she puts 3 matte shades in there as opposed to 2, and this one has 3 beautiful, beautiful matte shades. She always gives us a highlighting color which usually looks very similar from palette to palette, but it is always a color that I think it's necessary because it usually is the perfect color for the inner corner, so I'm never mad that this one is included. When it comes to these two right here, they are beautiful bronzy shades, but there's nothing overly special about them. And then I am of course very, very excited to swatch the Astral Blitz shades of this palette. I saw a few comments complaining about the Baked Astral formula being discontinued, like she's not brought it back in palettes for a while. But I have to admit that I prefer, just me personally, I prefer the glittery, chunkier types of Astral Blitz formulas that she's put in the newer palettes to the baked formula that she used to have. Let me show you a different palette to give you a comparison. In this Mothership #1 right here, I believe this blue is one of her Baked Astral Blitz shades, and this gold is also one of the Baked Astral Blitz shades. And from this palette and these Astral formulas, I tend to prefer these down here because they have like chunkier, more loose types of glitters rather than the yellow and the blue color. Like the colors right here in the center are the non-baked colors, and I prefer those to the ones on the ends because they have like more loose glittery sparkles in the formula to the baked formula. So personally, I'm not upset that the baked formula hasn't been seen in the newer palettes. Do I like the Baked Astral Blitz formula? Yes, I do, but I do prefer the glimmery, shimmery sparkles, so that's not an issue for me. I'm putting my hair back so that we can see everything on my face. I wanted to get my hair out of my forehead as well. And let's just go ahead and start swatching this beauty. I honestly cannot wait to the comparison part of this video. I feel like that's gonna be fun. Here are the first 4 shades on my fingers. These are of course from row #1. This one here being the first Astral Blitz shade. So let's go ahead and swatch these. The first color is Skin Tense Radiance. Second color is Nude Rose, which is a beautiful matte rose color. Third color is Hypnotic Bronze. And the first Astral Blitz shade is the color Astral Pink Fetish, which is a beautiful pink with gold sparkles. By the way, if by the end of this video you decide to buy this Pat McGrath Mothership palette, please do so using the link I'm leaving you down below in the description box. It's an affiliated link, and when you shop from those, you are helping out my channel, so it definitely means a lot to me. And in the description box, I'll also leave you some discount codes that have worked for people. There's different codes that have worked for different people. Unfortunately, I paid full price for this palette because I bought it when it pre-launched, which that was also a little weird. And I didn't even have the 10% off, and the other codes that were working for some people did not work for me at all. So honestly, that was pretty sad. Anyways, let me just keep going with the swatches. This right here is the last shade from the first row, which is called Blitz Crimson Ecstasy, and it is an intense rose, kind of reddish type of Astral Blitz shade. I gotta admit, this right here, this is the one shade in this palette that I'm like, ugh. Like, I know you guys are tired of like pink color stories. I'm tired of red shimmer shades. I never use those. I don't like them that much. So this right here is the shade that I have an issue with. Here are the 3 first shades from row #2. I'm super excited to swatch the dark shade because she usually makes the most intense, most creamy, dark, matte burgundy type colors. So this one here is Extreme Vermilion Dusk. Oh my god. Oh my god. I hope you didn't blink during that swatch because that was amazing. That is the creamiest, most intense matte formula ever. I usually love those intense dark colors with Pat's formula because they are incredible, but like that was even beyond my expectations. That was crazy. Let's go for the other one. This one is Copper Dawn, and the other matte color is Sienna Mystique, which Take a look right there, also super creamy and very pigmented. Here is the last two shades, which are both Astro Blitz shades. This is the purpley one. See how it looks a little bit more purple on my finger swatch right there than it did on the pan? I'm very excited about that color. So this is Astro Amethyst Allure. It's beautiful. Take a look right there. And then the last color is Astro Gilded Aura, which is a beautiful, beautiful gold Astro Blitz shade. So now that I swatched everything, take a look right here, the color story of this palette swatched. I think it's beautiful. I think we're going to be able to create some really stunning wearable looks with this one. And the thing with this type of rose color stories, and the reason that they are so popular, is because a lot of us are super basic with our makeup preferences, me included, and this is a color story that we feel very comfortable wearing on our day-to-day lives. Like, I feel like for a special event or for a specific night, I feel comfortable doing a very colorful look with maybe a specific outfit and whatnot. But like on a more regular basis, when you just want to do a more basic glam type of look, this right here is where it's at. And this is not basic, by the way, because you cannot call Astro Blitz shades from Pat McGrath basic. They are beautiful and they're shiny and they're sparkly and they're very glamorous in my opinion, but you know what I mean. It's not like blue and green and like all of those other colors. Now that we've seen the swatches, let's go ahead and get into the eye look. I plan on using all of my favorite colors from this palette, so we'll see. I have my reference number 15 brush with me, and the first color I want to use is of course the lightest matte, which is this one here. This is the color Nude Rose. And so with my reference number 15 brush, I'm going to just swipe that color back and forth on the inner half of the crease of my eye. I'm doing the inner half instead of the whole thing because there's 3 different mattes and the 2 lightest ones have slightly different undertones. So since I want to show you them all, I have to try and share the space, you know? So inner half of the crease with the color Nude Rose. Obviously beautifully pigment as per usual with Pat McGrath shades, and it blends like butter, of course. So with the same brush, I'm going into the shade Sienna Mystique down here, and this is going to be the outer half of the crease. So starting right back here, I'm going to do the outer V of the eye and then just blend it upwards a bit towards my brow by swiping my brush back and forth. That color is beautiful and it blends like a dream. Let me just darken it up a little bit more. So pretty. Alright, we did the same thing over on this side, and here's what we're looking like so far. I like it. I'm switching to a reference number 1 brush, and we are going to go into the darkest color, which is a bit more of this beautiful burgundy shade. And from the swatch, you guys saw it looked super intense, so I didn't grab too much. Definitely grab very little of this one because that is all you need. And so with my reference number 1 brush, I'm just going to blend it into the rest of the colors we applied. I'm doing little circles around all of the edges that I created with the dark color so that it blends as easily as possible. Whatever you feel like you need to grab from that shade, do less. Because I thought I grabbed very little and I did more than I wanted to for sure. I'm going back with my number 15 just to go over any edges carefully. Now on this side, I'm going to do the same. See, I grabbed barely any and I'm going to start building it up like that. So with that reference number 1 brush, I'm just blending everything. This is more so what I was going for. Things went a little bit sour on this side because I grabbed way too much. So now I have to make myself even. So I'm going to go this dark, but this is where I wanted to go. So I'm going to add a little bit more. And once again, just blend. Okay, I think we're even. Let's move on to the shimmer shades, which I'm very excited about. So the first one I want to grab, of course, is the purpley one. And I'm going to tap it right over the edge of my burgundy matte right here. This is like a darkish purpley color, but it's not like an intense purple. It's like in between purple and rose, I would say. Looks very pretty. Let's move on to this side and just do the same thing. I'm just carefully tapping the color on the edge of my smoky shade. I want to try and layer them in, so I'm comparing the gold with the pink to see which one to do next, and I'm going to do the pink next. This color right here, Astral Pink Fetish, and we're putting it on the edge of the amethyst color and bringing it inwards a little more, just tapping it with my finger. And this pink astral shade has beautiful gold sparkles in it. Ooh, I just noticed that I am putting it all over my face. I need to be careful with it. I think I grabbed too much. So I'm going to kind of swipe it more rather than pat it, because patting it was getting it on my face. So I'm swiping it now. I was able to swipe that off kind of easily. I have like a few little sparkles there, but that's okay. You won't notice once I put my blush on. So now with a brush, because I'm getting into inner corner territory and I need to be precise, this is my reference number 28 and the Gold Astral Blitz shade. And I'm going to add this one to the inner corner of my eyelid here and bringing it in through the crease ever so slightly. For the inner corner, I'm going to also grab a bit of this one and just add it right in there. And I grabbed it with the same brush so that it kind of mixes with the Gold Astral Blitz shade. I don't want it to lose the sparkle. This is really, really pretty. I wanted to use as many of the Astral Blitz shades as I could. I used 3 out of 4. The only one I didn't use was that red one, because I told you guys how I feel about it. I'll use it in my 5 looks 1 palette video, of course, but for this initial look, I just didn't want to deal with it. I just added a burgundy eyeliner to my waterline. This is my Pillow Talk eyeliner from Charlotte Tilbury. And I'm going to grab a little bit of our darkest matte color on a reference number 26. And I'm going to just back and forth swipe it in between my lower lash line around halfway in. And then with a reference number 13, which is a teeny tiny blending brush, I'm going to grab the lightest color. And this is going to be the transition-y type shade for the under eye area. Just down here, back and forth swiping it. And the same thing over on this side. So this right here is my first look with Mothership number 11 before any mascara or lashes are applied. I'm going to go off camera to do my mascara. I might come back with some lashes, we'll see. And then I'll finish up this look for you. I still need blush and lipstick, and we'll get into the comparisons. I'm back with just mascara on, and I wanted to show you it because I do want to also put on some falsies. I think it's going to be fun and a bit more glamorous looking, but this is what it looks like with just mascara before I put on some falsies. Lashes are on. These are nice and dramatic. They're from Velour in the style Sinful. If you're interested, I do have a discount code with Velour lashes. I always have it listed down in the description box. And let's finish up this makeup look with a little blush. This one is from Gucci. And this is the color Silky Rose 01, which is a cool tone pinky type blush shade. So with my reference number 5, I'm just stamping it on my cheek. The blush definitely brought this look together. I'm applying a little bit more of the lip liner that I've been wearing, which is the Anastasia lip liner in Muted Mauve. I had very little of it on, but I just added some more. And I know exactly the lip gloss I want to use because it's going to be perfect for this look. And it is from Pat Mcgrath in the style Prima Donna. I love this lip gloss. Take a look right there. This right here is my finished first look with Mothership number 11. I gotta say, I know we've seen color stories similar to this one in the past, but it is so dang pretty. Anyways, let's get on with the comparisons. I feel like when we see the color story of Mothership number 11, there is 3 main other Mothership palettes that come to mind, at least to me. The first one being Mothership number 7 here, which we'll compare side by side in a second. The second one I think of course, Mothership number 9. And then there is a couple of others that also have rose tones in it that I also want to compare side by side, like Mothership number 10 and Mothership number 8. So let's start comparing. At the top we have Mothership number 11, the new one. And underneath this right here is Mothership number 7, which as you can see also has a beautiful rose toned color story. So let's go ahead and swatch these side by side. All right, so the first 2 shades we're comparing. with these two are the highlighting shades. Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 7. This one's a little bit more warm. This one's a little bit more pink. They're both inner corner type highlighty shades, so that one in most Mothership palettes is very similar. I am very curious to swatch this shade right here from Mothership number 11 with this shade right here from Mothership number 7, which I see is more cool toned, but I just want to see how different they truly are. Take a look right here on my finger. Mothership number 11, Mothership number 7. This one is very, very cool toned. And one thing that someone commented on my first impressions video was that Mothership number 11, the new one, is like Mothership number 7 for darker complexions. Mothership number 7 is a beautiful rose color story, but a lot of the cool toned rosy shades that it has in it are not super dark skin friendly, and Mothership number 11, the new one, is a bit more dark skin friendly. Anyways, take a look at the difference in those rose colors. Very, very different. Again, that was this one versus this one here. So you can take a look at how different those are. I'm also curious to compare the burgundy tone to this burgundy tone. Take a look right there. This one is from the new palette, which has a lot more warmth in it. So Mothership number 11. Oh my god, I cannot get over how creamy this is. Versus Mothership number 7. This is more so a true brown shade rather than burgundy. I was debating whether or not to compare the non-Astro Blitz shades from these palettes, but I think I'm going to. So let's compare this one here. And Pat usually puts them in very similar positions, so take a look right there. One is much more warmer than the other one. Mothership 11, Mothership 7. This one's much more cool toned. And then we'll do this one here with this one here. Mothership 11, Mothership 7. So you can take a look right here at the non-astral shimmers from both palettes. Again, we're doing 11, 7, 11, 7, 11, 7 for reference in comparable colors, right? Take one last look because we are about to compare the Astro Blitz shade, so I'm going to take this off. So I'm going to go ahead and swatch the Astro Blitz shade so that you can see them compared, but they're honestly very different from one another. This is more gold peachy whitish type shades, and this is all rose. Take a look right here. These are the Astro Blitz shades from both palettes. Mothership 11, Mothership 7. As you can see, they are very, very different from one another. And so this ends my comparison of those two particular palettes. Let's move on to Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 9. Once again, let's compare color stories. At the top we have the new Mothership number 11, and then this right here is Mothership number 9, which is definitely one of my favorite Pat McGrath palettes. I of course can see the similarities between these two. I feel like these look more similar to one another than the first two I compared. But let's see just how close these shades truly are to one another. Like I said, I love that Pat usually puts them in the same place, so it's easy to compare. Starting with the highlighty shade once again, this is Mothership 11 versus Mothership number 7. Here we go, these two are very, very close to one another. Let's compare the light cool tone pinky mattes next. Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 9. As you can see, this one has a bit more peach in it. This one's more so a true pink matte shade. I'm going for this bronzy shimmer next. I'm basically going to compare all of the non-Astro Blitz colors, and then we'll do the Astro Blitz colors. So these are the same shade from Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 9. So far, these two are definitely very, very close. We're skipping the Astro Blitz shades and going to the burgundy now. Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 9. We can clearly see that matte deep color formula has improved. This is like my 4th time grabbing the one from Mothership number 9 to just try and make it look like this one. Wow. We're going for this shade next. And these are different in both palettes. This is a copper versus a pink. So Mothership number 11, Mothership number 9. And the last matte also looks pretty different in both palettes. Mothership number 11, Mothership number 9. This is much more orange versus this is just like a peachy neutral shade up here. So take a look once again at all of the non-Astro Blitz shades comparisons. These are very, very close to one another in a lot of the shades. Here are the Astro Blitz shades from both palettes, Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 9. As you can see, they are pretty different. This here is like a multi-chrome shade versus this is just a purpley shimmer. I feel like on camera they look kind of close, but in real life they are different because this one has an intense green duochrome to it and this is just a shimmery purple shade. So I wanted to clarify that. The ones that are kind of ish close but also not really are this shimmer versus this shimmer. And the reason I'm saying not really is because once again on camera they kind of look similar to one another. The one from Mothership 9 is a bit more sparkly, but also this one has a strong purple base to it that you can't really see unless I turn it like this. See, this has a purple base and this has a pink base. I'm gonna turn it so you can kind of see it better, right? But when I turn it like this, they look very similar to one another. So here are the Astro Blitz shades compared, Mothership number 11, Mothership number 9. I feel like those were the main ones that were going to be very similar to one another, in particular Motherships 9 and the Neo one. But let me also show you Mothership 11 next to some other of my Mothership palettes that have romantic color stories as well. Take a look right here, for example, Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 8. The Astro Blitz shades in these two are pretty different from one another, and I think the only colors that are kind of similar are the mattes, like this matte versus this matte right here. They're in different places in this case. Take a look right here, Mothership 11 versus Mothership number 8. Those are pretty close to one another, I would say. This one's a bit more neutral, this one's a bit warmer, but they have similar-ish vibes to them. This is also a little darker, the one in the new palette, but again, similar vibes. And then I think the burgundies might also be similar. Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 8. They're closer than I thought, actually. So Mothership 11, Mothership number 8. The burgundies are pretty similar to one another. But between these two palettes, those are the only two shades that are close. Everything else is pretty different. Let's keep going. Mothership number 10 also has some rose-ish tones in there, so we'll put it side by side. Here is 11 versus 10 right here. These two for the most part look very, very different from one another. The Astro Blitz shades in Mothership number 10 are all like metallic gold silver type colors, and the new one is all rose. And then the mattes, as you can see, are also pretty different from one another. The mattes in Mothership number 10 are pretty deep rose type shades versus these two right here are super soft. This is Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 10. I'm not even going to swatch these because you can clearly see the difference. The deep shade in this one is a burgundy versus the deep shade in this one is a super taupey brown. And so the only color that is truly similar between the two would be the highlight color, which is this one right here. This is Mothership number 10, Mothership number 11. I have 6 other Motherships with me here, but I think it's pointless to compare these to the new palette because none of these have a rose color story. This Mothership number 1 has a bluish color story. This one has a green color story. Mothership number 5 has like red colors in there. Actually, maybe we should compare this one because there is a reddish color in the new one. So here is Mothership number 11 versus Mothership number 5. As you can see, the matte colors are different between these two, and majority of the shimmers are too. The colors I want to compare are this red shimmer versus that red shimmer. This red shimmer right here, by the way, is one of the baked shades that Pat hasn't put in her palettes for a while. Like I said though, I don't necessarily miss it that much because I prefer the sparkly shades. So I feel like this is going to be a good comparison in that respect. This is the reddish color from Mothership number 11 versus the baked red from Mothership number 5. So this one, as you can see, has more rose in it. This is a true red color. And this one you can see has a bit more sparkles in there versus the baked shade. Take a look right there. I'm done comparing to other Mothership palettes, but we're not done with comparisons because there's a lot of smaller palettes that also have similar romantic color stories in them. So let's compare some of those. Here's Mothership number 11 versus the Rose Decadent palette. This one has one similar color, which is that peachy matte shade in there, but that's about it. Here it is versus the Velvet Liaison palette. I don't think any of the mattes in this case are the same. And then we have to compare this one with the Iconic Infatuation palette, because these do have extremely similar vibes to one another, don't they? Let me actually swatch some of the colors that I think are similar. Mothership number 11, Iconic Infatuation. Mothership number 11, Iconic Infatuation. Mothership number 11, Iconic Infatuation. I mean, they're pretty close, but they're definitely not identical. Mothership 11, Iconic Infatuation. And Mothership 11, Iconic Infatuation. Actually, we can do one more. 11 and Infatuation here. So what I swatched side by side was all of the non-special shades from Mothership number 11 with every single shade from this one. And this is what I get right here. Overall, the Iconic Infatuation palette is a lot more cool tone. Mothership number 11 is overall a little bit warmer, but they are pretty close in color stories. If we ignore the beautiful Astro Blitz shades, which should not be ignored. There's two more comparisons I want to do, and one of them is these Astro Blitz shades right here with the Astro Blitz shades of this quad. This is the Astro Quad in Ritualistic Rose. There's two colors in particular that I thought looked kind of similar to one another, so I put those at the top. So take a look right here. This is Mothership number 11, I have not wiped this off, versus the Ritualistic Rose Quad. And the shades are, of course, the one up top right there, which looks very, very close. As you can see, they have slightly different undertones when you look at them in low light, but right in front of the light like that, they look very similar to one another. And then this one versus the purple shade from the new palette. This one is a bit more of an intense purpley shade that has a bit more red in it, I think. Well, this one's a bit more cool toned, but also kind of similar there. And then the last comparison was the new palette versus this quad that she released recently. And I think in the terms of like the metallic shimmer shades that she shows for this one, they are kind of similar to like the vibe of the new one, but none of these are Astro Blitz shades. These are just regular shimmer, so they're not that special. And then the matte color, as you can see, is pretty different from the matte colors of the new palettes. I'm done with the comparisons and I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section down below, so let me know what you think. Is this new palette too similar to previously existing shades, or have we kind of justified it a bit by the fact that like nothing is technically exactly like one another? I think that if you have a very large Pat McGrath collection the way I do, you can skip this one unless you're like obsessed with rose colors, because there is a high chance if you have a large Pat McGrath collection that you already have very, very similar shades to these in said collection. Now, if you are someone who waits out for like truly special Pat McGrath palettes and this is a color story that really speaks to you, then absolutely go ahead and get it. This has exceptional formulas and amazing quality, luxurious packaging. It is not an innovative color story by any means, but I find it beautiful and I definitely see myself getting a lot of views out of this one in particular. So do with that information what you will. I try to arm you the best I can with my review videos to make the best decision for yourself, but we all have different size collections and different goals for our makeup, and so we all are going to have different thoughts on whether or not to purchase a particular release. So with that said, if you are interested in purchasing this palette, please do so using the link I'm leaving you down below in the description box. If you liked this video, if it was helpful to you, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up before you leave. Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments section. Don't forget, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, to please subscribe before you leave. I will be doing a 5 looks 1 palette video with this one coming soon, so definitely stay tuned for that. I love you all so much. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye.